Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Podnuts Pro. I am your host, Marvin B., coming at you from the great state of Florida, here in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, where the weather is fantastic. And I am joined today by two gentlemen who it'll be interesting to see how this goes. Two of the fastest talkers I know, two of the best jokesters I know, representing the country of Canada, Mr. Chad Kemp from Fast Computers. Chad, how are you?
Doing great. Doing great. Thanks, Marvin.
All right. And another U.S. representative from the state of New Jersey, Stan Lusant from Fluid Design. Stan, how are you?
I'm doing well, doing well. That's right. Actually, we're all representing East Coast, no matter what country we're talking about.
Absolutely,
right now.
East Coast.
Point that out.
Let's go with that.
East Coast all the way. Although, Stanley, I've got to start with you. Have you been traveling lately?
Yeah. I'm actually not on the East Coast right now. I am in my second. I've been quarantining in Texas for the past 3 weeks because why not, right? So.
What's in Texas?
Listen, why be alone if I don't have to, right? It's just that simple.
All right. No, I'm not going to ask. This is a PG-rated show, so.
No, but I had to get a flight in, right? I was itching. I was scratching. I just had to get it. But I have to tell you, it's actually the perfect time to fly because there's nobody on the plane. The plane was empty 3 weeks ago. There's nobody on the plane. I was the only guy at TSA. I mean, it's better being on the plane than it was being at the grocery store. Wow. Even though I don't advise anybody to fly because you're supposed to not fly, but they brought me here.
All right. And Mr. Chad, how are things up in Canada?
Pretty much what you expect. Everything's pretty good. The weather, I don't share your sentiments on the weather. It was Canadian short and t-shirt weather last week. I think that's parka weather for you, though. And then it was snowing yesterday. And it was hailing the day before. And right now, I don't know. I just don't know. It's just a surprise. It's like just a surprise. You go out there and you get what you get.
It is the end of April. How in the world is it still snowing?
Well, don't forget, I'm Southern Canada too. I mean, my fellow Canadians in their igloos up north are really, toughing it out. But no, yeah, we're a Southerner here. It's like I said, short weather is like 68, 69 degrees Fahrenheit for us. That's you can do shorts in that. Like I said, I think that's parka weather for you, though. I think.
I don't know what a parka is.
So. What a parka. We'll get you a nice Canada Goose jacket. Is what we're doing. Okay? We'll
Goose jacket.
Nah, you can send that to me. He don't need that.
You don't need that.
The guy in Jersey needs that one.
Listen, every 2 years, I got to go get a jacket, let alone anything else. All I own is sweatshirts. So if I need to cover up, I just wear a T-shirt and throw the sweatshirt over it. Of course, it's got MB systems on it, so the customers are always, oh, nice.
A sweatshirt. I have a feeling your sweatshirt weather is probably T-shirt weather, though. I'm suspecting.
Probably.
I have to agree. Chad, you and I, we got the same weather versus this one. He's the real Southerner here.
Yeah, our weather's so bad. The sand is too hot for Stanley. That's how bad.
Oh no, that did happen. That literally happened, man. I was burned my toes, man. I thought I was gonna go to the beach that day. I'm hanging out there in Florida with Uncle Marv here, and I walked on that beach. I got right off, man. My toes were. It was like, you ever see those shows like Survivor or whatever, when they do like walking on coals, like as how you trust people? Whatever. Yeah, that's what it felt like, and I had to go. I was not having that.
We got a beach up the road, and I went to go there about 2 weeks ago, not to go on the beach, but I wanted to kind of drive through, getting out, doing a drive kind of thing, right? And it was underwater, and the police wouldn't let me near it. But when I say it was underwater, I mean like. I thought my truck could make it through it, but they wouldn't let me try. And the car in front of me definitely wasn't going to make it through it.
So what kind of beach do you have? Is it a man-made beach?
No, we have so it's, if you Google it, Port Dover is a beach near me, and it's a
big lake or something.
Yeah, it's lakes. We have Lake Erie and Lake Ontario that are pretty close to me. So you got shoreline. Not all of it's great. Actually, funny enough, Port Dover has a palm tree they bring out in the summer, and they take. We bring our palm trees inside in the winter, Marvin. That's what we do. I have I have a lemon tree over here that I'm not going to let you see because it doesn't look very good
What
right
is
now.
it, in some sort of glass case,
You put it
like
inside.
pristinely preserved?
Greenhouse or inside, those are your options for your citrus plants.
Wow. No, we have palm trees that we leave out all year long.
And real beaches.
Real beaches.
How about swimming pools? Like really, if you moved from Florida up here, you'd think we were mental having swimming pools because we can only keep them open a few months of the year. The rest of the time, they have covers on them and tarps, and they're tied down.
Yeah, but here's the thing: is it a real like in-ground pool, or is it one of those big above-ground pools?
My last house, I had an in-ground. I had a 18 by 36 in-ground. This house, I have a 16 by 24 above ground, but it's not like some Walmart special or whatever. Like it's got a heater and the pump's the same as you'd have on your in-ground. But because of my yard has the grading goes way down. This kind of the deck goes out and then the pool kind of keeps going, so it's flat off the deck. If that makes sense. So
okay.
In-ground would have required a lot of stairs.
Yeah, the point is, this is Chad. Nothing could be simple. It can't just be some in-ground pool he bought at Costco, right? It's got to be, hey, my above-ground pool has everything that your in-ground pool would have and then some, right? That's Chad. It's got to be Chad, right? It can't just be simple. Oh, I didn't just go to Costco, bought this above-ground pool, blow it up with the air thing, right? No. With that ladder, with like the ladder you just throw over, No.
The fireman's rescue ladder is what that should have been, right?
No. We got stairs going in, just like the in-ground.
Yeah, just like your in-ground pool, but above ground.
Oh, so I'm going to rat on the wife here for a second. So you mentioned that your pool has a heater. So she asked me when we moved into the house, how soon can we get a heater for the pool?
In Florida?
That's what I said.
Doesn't it get too hot? Does the water boil? Do you have to stay out some days because it's too hot?
No, if she wanted a heater for the pool because, in our winter for 3 weeks in January, the pool gets cold. The sun isn't out to heat up the pool.
Like a solar blanket wouldn't do it? Like how cold?
I'm sorry. She just corrected me. January and February.
2 months. 2 months.
Yeah, she's trying to get year-round use out of that thing. That's right. She's trying to get the money for it.
Maybe if you had a guest from like Tijuana or something on here, this argument would be working a little better.
All right, gentlemen. So let's get down to tech, or whatever we want to call tech during these days. So how has the week been for you guys?
Any outside stairs?
I'm sorry. Dad, how's your week going?
I know see, we both could be quiet sometimes, right? No, go ahead, Chad. I'll let you take over first, and then I'll jump in.
Yeah, sure. So for us, it's been pretty much the same since the beginning of March for us. We're really busy. However, all my guys have been working remotely since I think March 14th, somewhere around there. So I've actually come, how you see all those things about how essential workers and how we don't value them enough. I don't value the guy who normally does all the shipping and receiving, the in-store stuff and answering the phone enough, because currently I have to do a lot of that, and it's not fun. I don't like doing the shipping and receiving and all the other stuff.
Now, are you actually going into your shop? I'm in the storefront.
So me and my wife's my office manager. So me and her are in the office with our daughter, and the door's locked. We're allowing drop-offs. We're a warranty center for Lenovo, so I kind of have to do my depot work. So we're allowing drop-offs and things like that, except that, like I said, I'm the tech. So I've replaced batteries on Yogas. I've replaced screens, hard drives. It's everything I don't want to do. I've been doing all of that. Like the tech work you would talk about, Marvin, I've had to use a screwdriver. Okay, that's what I'm saying. I've had to use spludgers and a screwdriver.
The rest of us do. Yeah.
How did it feel?
Not good. Not good. This has actually been my.
I hate to say, you feel like you really meant to say I actually do pay people to do this, right?
No. And I'm
like the statement couldn't be any more true for you, right?
No.
Like I actually pay people to do
Do you know I had considered putting everything in like a box and dropping it off on doorsteps with like a bottle of Lysol for my guys? But no, that's been the biggest thing. The problem for me is I'm looking forward, and the only thing that I'm worried about is the dry up. Like we don't have a lot of new projects. We got a new managed client that I have to go do a survey for next week. One of my current clients bought out another client. And so I've got to figure out how to bring that on board. But overall, been pretty busy. We've got customers that are currently closed, but we have a lot of customers that are busier now as a result of whatever you want to call this. So I'd say it balanced out, except nobody's here and they're all working remotely. So phones are good, but everything else is not,
Okay.
So
Stan?
I'm gonna jump in. So for me, pretty much have been in maintenance mode. That's really how I'm going to say it. And when the great thing about all of us here embodying the full MSP model is that bills are still going out on the first, and we're still maintaining those systems and environments, right? So the clients are really seeing, as long as everything is up and running, right, that's our job, so that they can work remotely, they can make their phone calls, they can email, they can do everything they need to do as if they're in the office. So yeah, to Chad's point, yes, there's not a lot of new stuff going on, except I do handle some mobile and computer forensics work, and I actually had a fellow Askier send me two laptops to get images done on, because there might be some lawsuits somewhere down the line. But the point is, that would have been done remotely anyway, right? Ship me the laptops. We took the images, did what we had to do, and obviously going to ship these laptops back. So, I have to say that's the newest thing that's happened, right? In terms of acquiring anything new. A lot of my clients are in the legal space, and they've kind of been put on hold. There's really not too much things outside of emergent applications, they say, that's happening in the court. So they're just kind of working existing files they have as best as they can. But everyone's kind of in that same position of, hey, how are we going to look in terms of getting new things going forward and new projects? But like I said, as far as it's concerned right now, our job is to keep everybody that we have up and running and active. So that's pretty much it.
Interesting, because just about every one of my law firms are operating as much as they can. The two biggest are in insurance defense. So they're still getting cases in and they're still busy. I only have one law firm that does, they work with commercial lending, but they work on behalf of the lease companies. So, so they're going to have an interesting deal because
yeah, everybody's going to be fighting them. But,
right.
And that's the thing, right? So here's an example. So a lot of my guys, I have criminal defense attorneys, and their whole thing is, they're handling like what they call the emergent applications, like, trying to get you out of jail early because you have some health condition going on, right? But the feds aren't charging anybody right now with crimes. Now, I do believe this, when this is all said and done, especially for those attorneys, there's usually an uptick in work after something like this, because people start to do things that they shouldn't be doing. But some of my other ones, my transactional attorneys and things of that nature, not a lot of my guys do insurance defense work, but it's just been, they said they've just been, they've been doing, they have work to do even, but things aren't moving as quickly as they would like to. And believe it or not, the court systems aren't that good at doing this whole virtual meeting that we're all doing.
Have you guys found, like I have, that a lot of what I've done in the past week is help attorneys try to do, Zoom or whatever from home who've never done it. And obviously there was a big run on webcams. So they can't just run out to, Best Buy or whatever and purchase a webcam because they're all gone already.
Yeah, see, that was us a month and a bit ago. Like in March, the week of March 13th, 14th, that's when we got the big run and all that stuff. And then there was a second run on the week of April 4th. Since then, not so much. The webcam thing is I was joking before the show, I'm sitting in my boardroom because I have a potato cam in my office now because I sold all my home office one, my one here. I went around to all the guys' workstations. I took all the cameras off their desks. I sold all those to clients. We had veterinary clinics that previously weren't allowed to do telehealth, but now they're doing a telehealth type of stuff with the video chat, and they couldn't deal with a crappy entry level thing. They needed something good quality for what they're doing. We have physiotherapists doing remote physiotherapy, they're doing all the exercises for their patients so they can follow along. And again, they need a good quality one. And this isn't really the time to start pushing $2,000 conference solutions to these people either, right? So we did that. So what we've been doing now is you got the tiny one monitors from Lenovo, and other vendors have them too, that have the webcam built in. And then we got the laptops. And for 98% of use cases, that's been good enough. I've been using this opportunity to really push Teams. We push Teams over all the other solutions for a bunch of reasons we can or can't get into here. I don't really care. But basically, we're trying to get people on that. And they're nervous because it's new and they're not used to it. But since they have to, it's really easy to push them over the edge. So we've been adding audio conferencing to the people who are concerned their clientele can't use a computer or a phone or whatever, and they want to dial in. I'm on a board of directors for a financial services company, and we had our first all virtual meeting last week. And in the past, it would be if they didn't have quorum, somebody could dial in, but it was really not part of the meeting. It was more that person's there to vote, and that's about it. Now we got everyone going with Teams. It went, considering the average age of the board members is like 70, we did really good, really, really good. And
Wow.
We're using this as an opportunity to really push the envelope and push people over the edge where they were like, well, that sounds interesting. We'll try that sometime, but not this time. And now they're like, well, what are we going to do? Have you guys seen any of that? Have you been able to kick anyone over the edge?
So I've had this conversation with you offline. And for me, maybe I'm a little spoiled, right, in this regard. But for the most part, our clients it's been business as usual because a lot of our clients are smaller, right? My largest client, where we handle everything from front to back, is 75 users, right? And that client, for instance, is a municipal accounting firm. So, and the reason I mention that is all the employees had laptops because they actually go into public entities and audit, and they would actually be there for, there are people I haven't seen in 6 months, right? Because they're like out of sight. So in that situation, nothing has necessarily changed, right? Because they're still working remotely as they did when they weren't in the office. So we've been spoiled in that. And like I said, when it comes to the attorneys or things of that nature, everybody has a laptop, right? We pretty much do laptops and docking stations as just normal procedure now. Because obviously people are going to be in the office, out the office, at home, instead of having a desktop and a laptop. So I've been kind of spoiled in that regard because I haven't had to do too much in terms of getting people going. It was only some support staff that didn't have a laptop or had a desktop, the paralegals or the assistant, right, where we had to get them, some remote access to their office computers. But, most people have our voice over IP solution we put in. Most people have the laptops, and VPN solutions, or well, not really too much VPN, but a lot of Splashtop Splashtop type solutions, right? So there hasn't, I can honestly say that there wasn't an uptick for me. Unfortunately, I'm jealous, right? Because I hear it's a revenue making opportunity I probably missed. But I had a client say to me yesterday, he goes, "You were remote. You were into remote before remote was cool." You were into setting up remote before remote was cool,
yeah,
right?
One edge you've got is the RDS deployments that you're already heavy on. And so for us in the last couple of years, we've started pushing those more. Historically, we have a lot of clients that are like our demographic is typically older, like in years, like actual age of clients. And so they like that, go into the office, work all day, go home. Like that's a large percentage of our client base. And so the on-premise servers and the on-premise applications and stuff, it just made sense to do desktops for a million reasons. But we have been doing more remote app and stuff like that. And so we really saw during this, those clients were a lot easier to transition. And for the ones that wanted to remote into the desktop in the office, that was still fine. But some of them we were able to just, issue laptops. And we've been doing like Azure AD deployments for some of the laptops instead of actually connecting them back to the main domain at the office. So they authenticate through Azure AD. And then they've got their 365 stuff because we've gotten rid of most of the file servers, put them in SharePoint. And then we're able to do additional stuff. I thought we were going to slow down at the end of March because April was just bonkers. I'm now talking May. I'm going to start trying to transition some people to M365 that were currently on E3. I have a lot of nonprofits on E3. And when I move into M365 Business, I'm using old naming conventions, by the way. I know they're all changing. I have the new ones. We will then get the additional Azure ADP 1, which gives us more security options for those remote users and monitoring and all access control and all that sort of stuff. And the cost isn't any different. It's pennies to go from E3 to M365. And M365 Business supports the installation of Office on RDS. Before you couldn't do that. You had to have a Pro Plus or E3. Now you can do it with M365 Business. So anyway, now, it's been a good opportunity out there.
Yeah. Now, Marv, I know you and I have talked in the past about some of your clients, right? I mean, you've been pretty much Citrix RDS style set up anyway, right? With some of your clients with multiple locations and stuff. So what I mean, for instance, with that client or those clients, how did you, how have things been with them?
So basically, when this started, my one law firm that was 3 locations, they were actually, I think it was March 12th or 13th, like really right at the beginning, the principal attorney called me or actually sent me an email and said, hey, we need to, set up a conference because I need to know if this gets worse, what do we do? And for the most part, their 2 offices were already doing an RDS into their main office. So all we had to do was set up their internal staff to remote in, and we set them up with the VPN client through the firewall to their desktops. So basically that took me, less than a week to get them all set up because I'd schedule 2 or 3 a day. And we connect in, get the software set up, show them how to connect in from home. And that was it. All my other people were pretty much already set up. I mean, I probably only had 10 people that I had to set up outside of those firms. So we were pretty easy.
Yeah, and they probably, and for me, just to note, those people who may have needed, the splash top or something like that, like they were also non-contract clients, right? I hate to say it, right? So, this kind of falls in line with, people do, allow you to do what you need to do, right? And set things up properly, then because like I said, as far as I'm concerned, I look at every small business now as being mobile anyway, right? I mean, we live in a mobile world. So, I think going forward for every one of us here, it's going to be easy. You're not going to have too much fighting in terms of explaining why you want to do something. Why shouldn't you have the on-prem phone system versus going with the VoIP solution, right? Did anyone have, I know I read this in some places and I'm just curious, did anyone have a situation where somebody just like literally told their employees to take their desktop computers home and wondered why nothing worked?
Well, no. We had them take it home, and it does work because we set up a VPN on it and they connect back in. But they said that since they were going long term, this is where remember I said that we had like the 2 waves. So the first group was kind of, I guess this is our life now, we're going to go home. And then April 4th was, this isn't a vacation. This is now going to be a thing. And so some of them started taking their big monitors. The most surprising thing, though, I know that you guys both said you didn't move a lot of product as a result of this, but printers. We sold a ton of printers. Who are they giving the papers they print to? They're all printing at home.
No, let me tell you something. And I see this, the accountants do this a lot. Well, the lawyers too, but the accountants more so, I think. They always want to compare. And some people just love paper, right? I remember I had a client, he had a calendar, right? He had one of the big calendars and he had it on the floor next to his chair. And I remember like, dude, you got an iPhone, you got a Surface, you got a desktop. I'm like, listen, let me show you how to do this, right? How to use Outlook. And, I would go through this exercise so many times, right? Yeah. And I said, Jerry, I'm going to ask you a real question right now. Do you just prefer a paper calendar? Just tell me, Stan, I prefer a paper calendar. Because if you prefer it, I can't fight you on your preference, right? So he says, Stan, I prefer this paper calendar sitting right here on the ground. And I said, guess what? I will never talk to you about using an Outlook calendar again because it's your preference. I'm not going to force you to do something you really don't want to do.
I do agree with that. And
no, that's it. But just tell me, don't have me like spinning my wheels like every day. Like,
no,
I'm just thinking he doesn't know how to use it the right way, right? No. You know, like let me help you out. You know, right. No, it's like Stan. I really don't want to do this, bro. I don't want to do this. I'm like, you own the company. You can do what you want, right? Paper calendar, it is for you.
We got the people with the scratch pads. I totally understand that, and like you said, I get it. They print. They want to print out forms and highlight and stuff. I mean, I get what they're doing, but I was still surprised how many I'm just shipping these printers all over and toner and everything, and I'm like, okay. I mean, if that's what you want, the webcams, the headsets, the monitors, I totally understand, right? The docks. All that I get all that, but yeah, the printers.
Well, I'm like, so I got a question. I haven't seen it, but I'm wondering if any of you have seen it or heard it through your clients that like this is actually working very well. Maybe we don't need the big office anymore.
Yeah, for us, we're seeing not really. The only thing I am seeing is that I think they're getting more flexibility down the road. But again, back to that demographic. So I have one client that we were actually in the middle of moving them to a shared office before this started. To the point where their server, their Datto, and their network equipment is currently powered off, sitting in a building that nobody wants to go to, but the landlord said we can get in later to get the stuff whenever that is. So it was great timing. In a way, a couple more weeks earlier would have been a little better. But basically, we put them in Azure. They have RDS in Azure. They have a DC and an RDS server in Azure. They have a VPN that they use the Windows VPN client to connect into. It's just a 5-person office. So putting a FortiGate VM in Azure is not cost effective at all. So we did that. They love it. They're using Azure AD Sign-On for all their desktops. Or sorry, their laptops, but you know what I'm saying. They're 365. We were using CenterStack when they were on-prem for their board members and stuff. We put all the board members on E1s since they're nonprofits, free. We have a Teams channel now we set up for them with for the board members. They put the files in there, and the board members can get it. Board members all have iPads issued by the company, and then the staff, they do their stuff out of their RDS, and everybody's super happy. I've got 0 complaints. But then I've got other ones where they're like, I really want to go in the office. I miss meeting clients. And then I got the ones that are in between where they're like, whatever, don't care.
Yeah. No. It's just, I have a friend who's brother CEO of like a company with 1,400 employees, and they have all this real estate. They're like, office is permanently closed. Like there's gonna be like 600-700 people from this moment forward who will be working remote because they're like this. But if you think about it, a lot of our vendors we deal with, don't have, IBM doesn't have any physical locations, right? I mean, they actually go into other people's offices. Like no one who works that I do, or even Trend Micro, right? All remote workers. So, I mean, that's already kind of been a thing in our
industry. It goes back to the type of business, though, right? We have a lot of manufacturing clients, and we have clients that are they have big shipping yards and stuff. And so even though they don't, like, management doesn't need to be there, but like the one general manager told me, he's like, I'm going in. They're like doing these rotating things for social distancing. So he's like, I go in 2 days a week. He's like, I don't need to go in at all. He's like, I could just sit at home. He's like, then they're like, well, why is he not coming in? He's like, so I go in. He's like, I wave. He's like, I do the walk. He's
like, morale booster.
Yeah. He's like, and everybody's happy to see him. He's like, so, and so that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking, like, for me, I'm thinking we're going to see more flexibility. Like, okay, I'm not feeling that great today, so instead of dragging myself in and making everybody sick and being patient zero, I'll just stay home and work, and that'll be socially acceptable as opposed to, so you get to stay home, right?
Or the snow day won't be a snow day. Everybody has no excuse to work from home.
That's exactly. Marvin, I'm sure Marvin's going to be rated on that.
Yeah.
3 feet of snow
day.
Oh, sorry. When you get like rain, I think you guys have rain days down there.
Oh yeah, rain down here, can't drive. So to go back earlier, so the one thing that when you talked about the fact that you had a bunch of uptick in printer sales. So mine was monitors because most of the offices, everybody's doing double monitors. So when they went home, they wanted to be able to have double monitors at home. So we did sell a lot of extra monitors because of that. And what it also did was it drove those Windows 10 upgrades that people declined to do because they didn't think they needed it. And when they realized that, they're like, why can't I do double monitors? Because the computer in the office is still Windows 7. You need Windows 10.
Any excuse, huh? Any excuse, huh?
Did a bunch of that. And then the other thing was so I did have one customer, and it's a fairly good sized law firm, that one of the staff members actually, I don't want to use the word threaten, but she basically called them out because they're an office right now they're at 175 users, but their remote capacity was only really about 120 on a good day. They had the option 2 years ago to go to a completely SSL VPN situation where I could have had all their users remote the entire time, and they said no. Well, let me rephrase that. The office manager said no because he thought 15 grand was too much for a law firm that's bringing in probably, I don't know, 30 million a year.
Nah, I understand that it's definitely too much money to spend.
So now they're transitioning. Then they've got, obviously all the attorneys and the paralegals, but regular secretaries, office staff, are not allowed to work remotely. So they either have to go into the office in shifts or they're not working. And the one secretary called them out and said, it is unbelievable that in 2020, you can't allow for everybody to work remotely and blah, blah, blah. And I think she was contemplating, because in Florida, I don't know I haven't paid attention to the employee rules and regulations during this, but apparently you can apply for a certain amount of family leave time because of this. And she took that option, and they didn't want her to, but she said, well, unless you allow me to work remotely, there's not going to be another choice. And if you don't let me, I've got another attorney I can call.
So do you have a PO for
your attorney could talk to my attorney?
Yeah. So that's what I've seen the last, it was probably about 2 weeks ago when that happened, but it was interesting.
So when are you installing the new firewall? Is that
They haven't come back to me.
Really? Okay.
So what they did was, I guess it was March 31st or whenever the governor put the order in to stay at home, that was the day he called me and said, how quickly can you do this? And I said, well, first of all, I have to see if the appliances are in stock. And it's going to take about 2 to 3 days to get them in, configure them. We got to get a SSL certificate. So I said it's going to take about a week.
That's pretty quick, really. I mean, that's we've had, I guess, are you guys, so aside from the uptick in product, are you guys still moving product in general, or not really? Not really?
No, not really. I mean,
I got some installs that were kind of some projects that were were supposed to happen from before. So I'm just sitting on some hardware that I'm not going to install until this thing is over and done. Yeah, but nothing new happened. But like I said, I mean, for me, this is really where the strength of our agreements come in, and we are, in full maintenance mode, right? I mean, literally, like in full maintenance mode, like MSP to the true sense of the word right now in keeping the network up and running. Because see, all that other stuff to me is project work, right? That's not
no. But,
so that's
what's funny, if we would have had this conversation, 5-6 years ago, I probably would have been saying more of the same as you. But I've got some high growth clients right now, and they're expanding like crazy. So we're getting bit constantly by the supply chain issues. We got, I told you about the one switch issue I'm having, and currently they're showing an ETA of May 5th on that. And I mean, I've got orders sitting, and sometimes the stuff's available and it's right there. And then other times it's and if it's not there, if it's not available, you can't even guess anymore when it's coming. I mean, webcams are a bad example because I'm sure their production is not at the level that it would have needed to be to fulfill this demand.
But if you really think about it, I mean, we've been having supply chain issues for quite some time, right? Especially on the desktop, laptop side, right? Windows 10 going out, Intel not having enough chips. I mean, this is, I hate to say this, it's not just because of this.
It's exacerbated though. It's gotten much worse.
And reality is you can't sell what you don't have, right? It's just that simple.
Well,
but
reality, you get yelled at constantly.
No, but even on the other side, I mean, look, I'm sure, the FortiGates, the Intels, I mean, all these guys want to make money. Logitech, right? They want to make money too, right? So, but everybody remember, right? I mean, where is most of this stuff manufactured? And that was all shut down. It just is what it is. So I think
I hope stuff starts moving soon, because I've got about 20 desktops that I purchased that were supposed to be for, Windows 10 installs. I actually bought a bunch of laptops right as soon as I could. I've still got 2 sitting here. I do have a lot of products sitting here that I would like to move at some point. I mean, it's here, it's ready, it's paid for. It's not like I'm, needing to get paid.
We're seeing it across all levels. So the thing is that it's not even just the manufacturing stand. Like UPS, for example, or a certain shipping company. Actually, to be fair, I've seen it on UPS, FedEx, and Purelator. I'm not calling any one of them out, but a lot of the drivers have been refusing to come to work. And so then the truck gets loaded, the truck sits there. My tracking says on truck, on way. It doesn't show up. We then call, and then they got to get spare drivers. So we're having problems at the driver level, a lot of problems at distribution, getting it processed, So these are, again, for those clients that are currently in a maintenance mode, as you've called it, Stan, not an issue at all, right? And you guys know I keep pretty good stock of everything as it is. But getting like just random new stuff, yeah. Anyways, just another challenge we're dealing with, the business. It's all good.
I got a Sonic wall delivered today, so that'll be installed over the weekend. So.
Yeah, and I do think I actually had another colleague who was telling me how he had things that were paid for, 6-7 months ago before this happened, and clients never wanted to shut down to let him come in and do the installs. So he's obviously taken this opportunity to finish lingering projects that were open. Obviously, like I said, I think if you got to go in my opinion, Marv, if you got a client that has 20 machines to install and no one's in the office, it's the perfect time to go in and do that install while no one's there, if you can. So you kind of can take advantage of that. So, but like I said, for me, I mean, we did all the Windows 10 stuff already, got everybody off of the old servers. So for the most part, look, I'm just going to tell you, I mean, the first quarter, and Chad and I have talked about this, I was up 60% year to date over last year. So I got quite, that stuff happened already for me, right? Hey, Windows 10, we got to go. You're not going to be supported anymore. We're not going to support the machines. Oh, really? Like, give me 5 new computers, and all that. So, I had taken advantage of that on the front end, luckily.
Well, see, that's the big thing. It's kind of funny. Like some of our clients, we have golf courses, and unlike in Florida, golf courses close for the winter here because no one golfs in the snow. So I got golf courses calling me saying, "Hey, we're off of 5 months of no revenue, and now we can't open, so we're gonna need to do something." So we got that kind of thing. Whereas us, it's backwards, right? Like we're getting caught up on all these projects. Everyone in IT is always behind on projects, right? So we're all getting caught up on all these, but the sales cycle is kind of drying up a little bit. So come June, when we would have had those, we all were backlogged still. I'm not sure what that's gonna. I'd say a lot of our documentation is gonna be really good. I'd say, everyone's gonna have some really polished, handouts and all those things you've always wanted to get done. Yeah, but I mean, it is what it is, right? And like at the beginning of the year, being up was helpful.
Yeah, well, and I gotta. Geez, I just lost my train of thought, but I think it's gonna come back. No, actually, you mentioned. You guys all know how I feel about agreements and contracts. There's a deep love and passion for agreements and contracts, right? No, so with that said. And I'm sure it hasn't happened to me yet, and it might happen to you guys, or if it hasn't already. I mean, are people making those phone calls and saying, "Hey, what are we going to do with this bill that you're sending us a month?" Like, I mean, how are you gonna? How do you guys feel on handling?
That's what I'm saying. We have it. It depends on the client, because for me, I like to run my thing a little more, we'll call it more rural, a little more handshake.
Yeah, a little more hobbyist.
We have agreements, but my standard thing is, a year, and then I roll in a month to month. And so my whole thing is that I'm going to fire you just as likely as you're going to fire me if I don't want to work with you anymore. That's sort of my thing. My mental health has a price, is my thing. So the thing is that, for like the golf course, yeah, I cut him a break because, I'm like, you guys are screwed. You're screwed. I get it. We had a manufacturing client reach out to us, and they prepaid by the year. So I'm like, we're prepaid. Like, we're not doing anything with that. So
yeah, let me get a refund. I want to.
Yeah, we're not doing anything with that. But likewise, they set a follow-up date for a few months from now. So again, because the big thing, I know we're not talking about whatever the big thing is, but the big thing is the uncertainty, right? We just don't know. And I don't know. Marvin doesn't know. Stan doesn't know. None of us know, when we're going to be full tilt, right? I put bets on Marvin before any of the rest of us down in Florida there, Florida man.
My customers are still paying, and that's as far as I'm going to take it.
No, like I said, joking aside, it's we're doing case by case, Stan. That's really where it's at. But some stuff, like I talked about one of my clients that's in construction, and he said he was booked all the way till December. Now he's booked a few months out. He's still doing what he's got to do. We got other clients where we got the renewals for their firewalls coming up. They're like, what? The last thing I need right now is to be hacked because we didn't maintain our security software. They're like, send me the bill. But I am sending the bills and getting the money before I book the orders. That's
yeah. Well, no, and the reason I ask is, at the end of the day, if you really think about it, especially what everybody here is doing, our job is to keep the infrastructure up and running. And if the infrastructure isn't up and running, then they can't bill whatever they're billing right now, right? So at the end of the day, we're the last people who should be cut. If you're trying to delay someone's payment and get some out, there's call the other vendors, right? You know what I mean? Before
I agree
before
with
you get down to us.
It all just, and this is where it goes though, and this is where I said case by case, because like in the case of the golf course, picking on the golf courses, they're like off. Like the doors are locked. There is nobody at home. No phones are being answered. No one is working. They're not allowed to do the rentals for their venue. There's no golf, no nothing. So I'm like, turn it all off then, I guess. Literally, all of it off.
That is tough. So, most of my clients, and when I say most, I think all but one are working. And even if they're, working at only 80% capacity, they're still working. So this is probably one of the few times that, some of my customers who are not as appreciative, in years past, now they're much more appreciative. And I even had one call in and say, hey, I just wanted to say all that stuff that you were pushing us to do before that we were resistant on and not really understanding why, now we understand. I'm sorry we were that way back then. We won't be anymore, which
awesome.
I take that to me next year when they forget about this.
Yeah. Rico, hey, please say that again. I need to record that, right?
That's a problem for future self. Currently, you can take that one and pat yourself on the back.
Yep. All right. So, Chad, I want to make a little bit of a transition here. I'm gonna read something. I want you to tell me what you think about it.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
So, certain events stand out as catalysts that ushered in new opportunities and prosperity for my business. Although there are a large number of attractive programs, the best benefit to me has always been the people. Being in the company of like-minded peers day to day that are willing to listen, discuss, and share business ideas brings a value that can't be expressed in a number.
That sounds like something written by a gentleman and a scholar. That's what I think.
So my first question is, did you write that for yourself?
Yeah, I did write that.
So I'm going to quickly share my screen here. And what I was referencing is this I saw recently on one of the ASCII forums, and it was a spotlight on my good friend Chad Kempt on being a member of ASCII, that one of the great opportunities joining ASCII and being in the company of like-minded persons. So.
Yeah, no, I definitely, I think I've probably said it enough times, but I mean, I can say it again. It's for me, when you look back at your business, hindsight's 2020, right? So when you look back over the years, we've all been in business for a long time on this call. I think we're in year 22 now. And, at first we kind of just did stuff, we kind of just did some stuff. And then if it didn't work, we did other stuff. And we kind of moseyed along like that. And then there was a few catalysts that I can look back at and say they jumped me, levels, we'll call it. And when I joined ASCII, and I'd be talking on the list in the early days, I'd say some dumb stuff, and I'd get called out for saying dumb stuff. And then I didn't say dumb stuff anymore. And I looked at why did I think that was acceptable or good? And
you don't say dumb stuff anymore, though.
No, well, I mean, maybe,
just a second,
maybe I do, maybe I don't. I don't know. I'll leave that for 10 years from now when I look back and. But really, it was being around, surrounding myself with people that were more successful than me, gave me something to strive towards, and by doing that, I was able to really jump the business. And, I've continued with that and making other contacts in the industry and meeting more people and using every opportunity I get to ask questions, and that's why I'm always game to do, whether it's a podcast, Marvin, or whether it's, this Facebook Friday or anything like that, because I really am thankful for all the input and the help and the feedback I've gotten over the years, because it's really made me, put me where I am today. And so I just hope I can give even a fraction of that back to other people in the community.
All right. Stan, got anything to say about Chad's spotlight?
Yeah, you look much better than that picture that you picked. But besides that, I'm just kidding. No, but Chad. I mean, guys, in all seriousness, one of the things that ASCII did for me was just to, as a community group, is to help me even realize that there are other people in the same boat as you, right? Sometimes you think you're out here on your own, and no one else is going through the same experiences. But, having that community of people who are actually, no matter where they are, right? Chad, you're across the border, Marv, you're down south, and, we're all actually going through the same business challenges, dealing with the same things when it comes to, prospecting and sales and marketing and client acquisition and dealing with clients, right? And then, maybe even client termination if that occurs. So for me, just having, feeling like you have that group to lean on, is definitely a huge circumstance. And then, to Chad's point, seeing like, oh, wait, this person is doing A, B, C, and D. Like, why can't I, right? There's no reason for me not to be able to do that as well. So realizing that there might be more opportunities, or you've kind of been a little bit too narrow-minded or narrow-focused in terms of how you're looking at things. I mean, even with what's happening now, I actually believe not being fully specialized on one sector is maybe not a bad thing, right? Because if that sector goes down and you go down, but you just kind of see these things, through the peer group and, wherever that is for you, right? And in whatever industry you're in, I think that's just, and then obviously I think the last thing is, not realizing could actually be a source of revenue and work for you, right? If you have a specialty or can do something that other people in that organization or that group can't do, they might lean on members in there to actually help them fulfill some of the requests that they have. So you can even expand your breadth of services through that. So for sure.
All right. I will echo the sentiments of both of you that since joining ASCII, I can't measure what I've gotten from the group. It is much more than the dollars that I save using all the discounts. And I actually do a few of the programs there. I get the discounts through distribution. But probably the biggest thing, even though I am not active in the ASCII link as well, I'm active. Let me rephrase that. I read, I just don't respond.
Lurker.
Form troll.
Yeah. Trunk slam and troll is what I am. So but when I have needed stuff, whether it's, to help me, look at a product, or when I needed help in a city that I did not have a previous tech in, when I've, made the call, people have answered. And that has been pretty good. And, what actually hooked me in the very beginning when I joined, probably 2 weeks in, I finally made a request on the group asking about Ruckus, because I was looking at them. My client was having issues. We had gone through all of the all of the wireless access points. At the time I was, Linksys and Aruba and Open Mesh, and I'm going through this, and I'm like, between Ruckus and Meraki, and I made the call, and I'm in Fort Lauderdale. Somebody in ASCII was in Miami and was willing to meet me, give me a spare Ruckus that he had, and say, here, play with this for a while, tell me what you think.
Yep.
That was exactly like, okay, I'm in.
That's exactly it. To take it a step further, Marvin, I actually switched from another peer group into the ASCII Insider group, which is sort of like a subset of ASCII. There's ASCII, and then the ASCII peer groups are ASCII Insider. And the group in there, it's been really, they partner you up with similar sized companies in terms of revenue and stuff like that. So you can try to, with everything going on, it's almost been like therapy sessions every 2 weeks. We have our meeting, and normally you go through and you have your stuff you normally do, but it's been more of a, hey, what's going on? And everyone's been kind of helping each other out, and and that's just taking it to the next level. Like I said, I can't say enough good things about it. I mean, it was definitely a major milestone for me and my company.
Right. Okay, so let's get ready to end off here. First question I got is, who's in the kitchen in one of your places there? What is what are they cleaning up lunch?
Yeah. And it ain't for me.
All right, so I'm going to ask basically 2 questions, and we'll end off here. One of the things that I had on here was the Ask Me Anything. And, do you guys, and I first of all, I'm going to guess, Chad, you stopped listening to my show long ago. Stan, is there anything that's come up in the last few shows that you guys have a comment on, a question about, or?
What were your last few shows about? Actually, no. What was your last topic again? I feel like it was like
last one was the Zix one. The Zix was the one.
Yeah. Well, you have this marriage with App River, and I just divorced them. So
really, what happened?
No, I mean, in reality, it's a price problem. The minimums are fine, but they're not fine when you have some clients that are 2, 3 users, 4 or 5 users, right? You're paying these minimums. There are other vendors that are significantly less, and they're paying, whether I have 1 user or 20 users, the cost is a cost, right? There's no minimum, right? These domain fees, and it just got to be cost prohibitive for the smaller guys for me.
Really? Because you can get those waived,
Yeah, well, my contract said $30 minimum, whatever. I mean, I should have called you, but it just. I mean, look, I have to tell you, the system has definitely gotten better in the fact that as a reseller, you could now do everything on your own without having to call them and contact them. Yeah. That took a while to get there, and they are there. But like I said, I think for those smaller clients, I don't want to keep having to pick up the phone and call and go through some ordeal, and why am I being charged this minimum, and et cetera. So yeah, so I've converted over. But what I did like versus the solution I have now is I can mix and match, right? I can give somebody email continuity, somebody not, and obviously have those different price points. But those minimums were always the death of me.
All right. I never ran it. Well, let me rephrase that. I did run into it once, but like I said, they waived it. And I don't know if it has to do with, the amount of mailboxes I had with them, because I actually do have a lot. I didn't realize I had as much as I did. So.
Yeah, because it's like per account, right? It was like so not in total. It's like per domain account that I set up, right?
Right.
It would be, that minimum was per account. So it wasn't towards my total collective, because that would.
Well, then you should have called. You should have called me, and I would have gotten you in touch with Sunshine, and they would have taken your whole account, into play and taken care of it.
Too little, too late.
Here's your thing, Stan. You bail too quickly, just like.
No, well, I'll tell you what it is. It's not even bailing too quickly. It's, I want to have the least amount of interaction with vendors as possible. That's me. It's no kidding.
Really?
Like, and I know what my agreement says, but I also know what I signed the agreement. I'm the one who signed the agreement, who agreed to minimum. So, you know, I don't know if you guys been watching this Michael Jordan thing, right? Scottie Pippen signed his, you know, the 8-year agreement for $18 million, and they're like, you shouldn't sign this. And if you do sign it, don't come back in my office trying to renegotiate it because it's what you signed, right? So it's that kind of thing.
Times have changed, Dan. If you pay attention to the NBA now and the NFL now, if you outperform your contract, you can go back and negotiate. Players do it all the time. Now, you may get traded. But you can renegotiate.
What are these sports you're talking about, Marvin?
Yeah, listen, just because we took your hockey, stop wondering.
Yeah, I don't know, man. That's you know. No, I saw that you did some stuff with Corey again with from Instant House Call. That's kind of cool. You guys kind of came out of the woodwork. He was kind of quiet for a while, so it was nice to see that he's.
Yeah, I don't know what happened, but yeah, he. Well, I think I reached out to him for something a few months ago, and then he reached back out to me, and now, you know, he's doing a whole bunch of stuff on his own. He's got a couple of things. So actually, he and I are, I don't want to say in negotiations, but he and I are talking about doing some other stuff as well. So
that's terrific. Yeah, that was the Jetpack days were fun. The stuff that, like I said, it was always good times with Corey, and he's a fellow Canadian. Then I only have to speak for half of Canada.
That's true. That's true. Yep, the old Jetpack days, back when you thought I was a nobody.
One man Trump slamming pizza delivery tech.
Did you ever
have a van?
You
don't even have a van.
Yes, I heard the whole story.
Oh, how can you be a van?
Yeah,
but T-shirt, though. I got a T-shirt.
Quickly realized that Chad was in a different, Marvin was in a different category, you know. So
yeah, you know what, the two of you guys are both great. I do like to get reminded of that once in a while, but the both of you guys have proved that you can definitely do quite a bit as a one-man operation. With maybe a little assistance here and there. Some days I'm a little envious. I mean, that's why I lost all my hair, right? It was employees. I mean, I tell everyone that's just before employees, I had luscious hair. After employees, it's you got to watch. You don't get blinded in the wrong light. It's not good. But
I've had employees, so I can't really, talk bad about the situation. So I understand. All right, so I know people are getting off and heading back to lunch. So let's go ahead and end up here with Florida Man versus the world.
Oh boy, how's your pet alligator?
He's
thrown through Wendy's drive-thru recently, or?
No, he's in Grandma's toilet right now.
Oh man!
So here we go. I'm going to start off because I want to see if you guys have anything to this. So. The talk, we're going back to sports, Chad, so don't like doze off here. So you know that, Tom Brady is now a Florida man.
Isn't he going into people's houses or something? Trying to make himself at home?
So Tom Brady recently, mistakenly, went into the wrong person's house. So David Kramer was in the process of selling his home and had the front door open. When the new Tampa Bay Buccaneers quarterback made his way inside, Kramer was sitting at his kitchen table doing some work when he heard the door open, saw Brady, who dropped his duffel bags on the floor and said, "Hey, man, how's it going?" Before realizing that he was in the wrong house, he was looking for their offensive coordinator, Byron Leftwich, who was Kramer's next door neighbor.
I'm just glad that obviously that's a good part of Florida, because I thought the result might be a little different in.
I thought the story was going to go different myself.
It's in Tampa, So
I don't know if the Miami or just the rural areas that might not have gone so well. He's coming right for me.
So Tom Brady is Florida man. So that was the one thing, and the other thing was he got kicked out from a park because parks are closed. And Tom Brady, thinking that, he was the man like he was back up north, thought that he could break all the rules, and he had to get booted from the park because he wasn't allowed in, even though he thought that he could go and work out and do whatever he wanted.
That's kind of hilarious, actually.
Well, he doesn't have to worry. If he waits long enough, you guys are going to do plenty of things that he's going to be able to be free, and we're all just going to be here laughing at you guys and the rest of the country. That's all I'm saying. If anything weird happens, we already know it's Florida before we see the headline. That's all I'm saying.
I said, Marvin, I send you Florida man stories the thing is, I'll see the headline and I'll be like, I bet this guy's in Florida, and then I just start scrolling down. And I'm like, he is. Although I'll give you, honestly, I've been watching the news a lot lately, and I have to say, there's some other states giving you a run for your money. I don't know.
That's true, but there's some help. The quarantine, makes it, people go loopy. Although I didn't bring this up, and I don't have time to go searching for it. But do you guys remember the bunny that went and punched a man? The Easter Bunny story from last year?
I know it must have got buried in all the other.
So he's on trial for assault because even though he was coming to the defense of
a woman,
a woman, and the Easter Bunny in full Easter Bunny outfit went up and punched this dude, and so now he was being sued and all of that stuff.
This is in Florida, right?
Of course, it's in Florida.
I just want to throw another Florida story out there because I just
the alligator, by the way, through the drive.
No, you're supposed to throw a New Jersey story out.
No, we know New Jersey story. We're fine. We don't have any issues up here.
Okay,
listen. Florida story. Did you see the man selling masks made from python and alligator skin?
Yeah.
I just had to.
That's good. That's good. Yeah. I still think the alligator through the drive-thru is my favorite, though. That one, I'm still.
Really?
Yeah, I really like that one. I don't know. Maybe alligator. I mean, you alligators, they're like dogs for you down there, right? I mean, maybe that's it. But for me, got even alligator coming through the drive-thru window.
Yeah, they run like we've got cats that run wild. We've got raccoons, possum, alligator.
You get all that, but no alligators.
Yeah. I mean, I'm only a couple miles from the Everglades, so pythons will be coming up here pretty soon.
I saw a video of somebody in Australia where there's a kangaroo banging on their back door. Like that sort of stuff to me is alarming. But I mean, I don't have kangaroos. So.
I mean, I've eaten kangaroo. It was a little tough, but
I mean,
I ate them and I petted them. I kind of felt a little bad about that, but it was what it was.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Yeah. Let's see. Florida man accused of shooting duck with a bow and arrow. Drunk Florida man shoots rifle, points laser at Broward County Sheriff.
You don't have to look far. You don't have to look far. But I mean, like I said, I'll be honest with you. I have a feeling that 3 months from now, you guys have a lot of competition. I mean, I won't name places, but I mean, I did see a mayor saying some things.
I mean, did you guys see the one? Did you guys see the one with the 42-year-old woman who stuffed Easter eggs with porn and mailboxes?
Yeah, I talked about that last week. Yeah.
Yeah. You guys win, man. You guys this is good stuff.
It's like a 10-to-1 ratio, I think.
But you know what it is, right? It's like Florida's where people go to essentially kick the bucket. So what happens is
okay, that's only Boca Raton, okay?
Yeah.
The rest of Florida is people leaving the north because of cold weather.
I gotta watch the jokes, right? Because I mean, Ontario's second home is Florida. So
I mean, how many license plates are outside my office right now?
Yeah, but I'm trying to give you the benefit of the doubt. That's what happens is when you get to that part of life, you're just like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, right? I've lived long enough. I might as well do some things that probably are a little out of character, and that's it. I'm just like, it's a good excuse for me.
I thought it was the heat. The heat just gets to the yeah. And in the comments, I don't know if you saw the comments earlier. Marvin John was saying that your January, February is kind of like my summer. Unfortunately, my summer is a sweltering mess up here too, with the humidity so high.
Humidity gets high up there. Yeah.
You got to experience that. Kind of wish we would have got to see you in January. That would have been a look. Look.
What? Like, am I going to dress any different? What are you talking
about? Oh yeah. No. My favorite videos are the one where my mom from Jamaica coming to Canada for the first time in January and saying she's fine, she doesn't need a coat, and then they film her as she comes out of the airport, and the look on the face is just.
Do they sell coats at the airports?
They most certainly sell coats at the airport.
All right, because that's probably what I would be doing as I get off the plane, because I don't own a
Just
coat
Amazon
anymore.
yourself a coat before you come. That's what you want to do. You don't want airport markup. Well, these days, actually, it might not be bad.
As I say, the exchange rate's pretty good for us right now.
Oh yeah, that Canadian dollar is
To be fair,
beyond
yeah.
terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, guys, let's go ahead and end off here. People are finishing up lunch. We are over an hour, and I don't want to hear any more Florida man jokes. That's pretty much why I want to.
That's fine. We'll take it offline. It's fine.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for watching, if you are watching us live on the Facebook or on YouTube, and for listening. If you have downloaded this episode of Podnuts Pro, please head over to podnuts.com and listen to other great shows that we have over there. I probably should make this announcement. I have told you guys in the past that I purchased the domain podnutspro.com. Let's just say that I am in the midst of working on putting that website together. So soon you will be able to head over to podnutspro.com and get some of the great things that we talked about. I'll have links from the show notes there. I'll have things from the Amazon. So if you want to support the show, the main way that you can support it is by doing your shopping on Amazon. I will have links from items that I've had on the show. I don't know what else I'm going to do there yet, but it's coming. So all of that's there. Be sure to follow us on the Twitter at PodnutsPro and on the Facebook. Do a search for Podnuts Pro, and we have a Facebook page there. And of course, if you're watching, you already know that because you're on it. That's going to do it for this episode of Podnuts Pro. I want to thank Chad Kempt and Stan Lusant for being on the show. And that's going to do it. And until next time, holla.
Thank you, Marv.
Thanks, Mark.